Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Quite loud enough, right? Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Glenn Pace. I'm at 41 Division. I'm a neighborhood community officer. Everybody knows what a neighborhood community officer is? No? Okay, I'll get to that. First of all, this is my sergeant. He's in charge of the neighborhood program. Awesome sergeant, right? He used to be in the mounted unit. He used to ride horses for 15 years, and that's what made him taller. Right? And that's Dave. He doesn't work in my neighborhood, but he works in Dorset Park, which is Kennedy and Ellesmere. Right? If you see on the screen there, Superintendent Warren Wilson, he's my superintendent as a big boss, unit commander at 41 Division. Inspector Hung, that's my sergeant, NCO sergeant. NCO means neighborhood community officer. That's me, and my partner Eric Moran, he's not here. He chickened out. He said his daughter is sick, so he's not here. Good, next. All right, my background. It's good I met Jackson because I always do presentations and police foundation scores and stuff like that. But it's very ironical that I got an email from my boss through my sergeant saying that Jackson wants 41 Division to come down and speak to the newcomers in Canada. So it was good to meet Jackson, and that's the reason why I'm here with my team. So a little bit about myself. I came to Canada in the year 2000. Before that, I did all my education. I did my undergrad in Bombay University, and I came to Canada in 2000. Before that, I was in the merchant navy, like the ships. I worked on crude oil tankers, container ships, car carriers as a navigation officer. My kids were very small, 2 and 4, and I used to be outside India for most of the time. So we decided, hey, let's move to Canada, and you're here. So within a year of preparation to be a police officer, I became a police officer 21 years ago, right? So 2001 I got hired. I worked in 55 Division in various units. Toronto anti-violence units, no longer there. And now I'm at 41 Division from 2000. I joined the crew, which is the community response unit. You know, you see the guys on the bicycles. So I used to be in that unit. But since the last year, they have disbanded the unit because we don't have enough officers in Toronto Police. And I joined the NCO team in June. So just because the NCO program, I want to talk to you about what the NCO program is. So right now, there are about 16 police services divisions. We used to have 17 police divisions, but 54 and 55 divisions, the beaches, they're merged together, so now it's one division. That's why we have only 16 divisions. We have 51 neighborhoods with the NCOs, the neighborhood officers. So in all, we have 211 neighborhood community officers all over the city. The reason why we have this NCO program is because they did a survey with the community members saying that, what do you want change, right? So they wanted some officers to actually mingle with the community and get the community interaction and solve the community problems on a one-to-one basis. So that happened in 2003. And then we participated with Humber College. They did a research and they developed best practices, and then we rolled out in February of 2019. So we have 3 neighborhoods in 41 Division. One is Kennedy Park, Dorset Park, and Oak Ridge. So Kennedy Park covers Eglinton and from Birchmount all the way to Brimley, right, and also cover Danforth Road. Dorset Park, where Dave is from, it's mostly Kennedy and Ellesmere, Kennedy Commons, those areas. And Oak Ridge neighborhood is Warden and St. Clair, Danforth Road, Danforth Avenue, all those areas. So each neighborhood has 4 dedicated officers. 2 officers work at the same time. We work on a 7-day on and 7-day off schedule. So right now 2 officers are working, 2 officers are off. So we have 4 officers in each neighborhood. So we have to spend minimum 4 years in the neighborhood program. Why? Because we develop relationship with the community, right? They come to us, they trust us, we build relationships, and that's why they want us to be in the community for 4 years. So minimum 4 years we have to give the community in this unit. So we work collaboratively with residents as well as community agencies, building solutions, work in partnerships with the community, various programs. So basically we try to build trust in the community. And that's our mandate. I'm just going to go quickly because I want to have a question and answer period with you guys. So we engage the community, build long-term relationships, gain insights, means feedback from you guys, from the community, to better understand the needs of the community and their concerns, and to solve problems basically. It's everything what we said earlier, so Dave, let's skip this. Again, we also do ProAction Life Skill. So ProAction is an agency which gets a lot of donations from big companies. So we have to put a proposal to them to have a life skill program, like basic stuff like how to write a resume, how to go for an interview, how to write an interview, or how to give an interview, basically how to sit, right? So these are all important skills. How to cook, how to get your, what is that bar certificate called? Food handler certification. If you need to work in a bar, you need a food handler certification, right? How to get a first aid course, because most of the companies you work for, they will ask you for first aid, right? Because everybody wants a first aid certification. Say something happens to them, you are able to give first aid. Yeah, and also we go to different sports programs and youth engagements. We run soccer programs, we run basketball programs for the kids, hockey, baseball. We just finished a baseball program in Dave's neighborhood right now. So there are plenty of opportunities for newcomers to Canada. Of course, if you're a student back home in India and you come to Canada, you have the student loans, which you can get hold of, OSAP, Ontario Student Assistance Plan, and of course for older people or the adult people, you have business loans. There are many scholarships available if you want to, and you will have to write a paper for those scholarships. And of course there are different co-op programs in different universities. The main settlement services is any resources that you need from the Government of Canada. They are available through culture, education, recreation, finance, and social services. So if you go to Canada.ca and in the search bar, you type in whatever you need, like settlement services, it will pop up, and they're pretty good with their websites. Yeah, we just click a video for on frauds.
Scammers recognize that newcomers to Canada may be particularly vulnerable because of their unfamiliarity with Canadian laws and other fears over migration status. In this video, we'll review common scams that you should be aware of, techniques that scammers use, and what to do if you or someone you know becomes a victim. Scams are always changing and updating, but we often see reoccurring ones.
On the phone, they'll always send you an email to a secured account. That's how some people, they get into frauds or scams, because they answer all the questions on the phone by some individual on the other side saying that they are CCRA representative, and you'll be arrested if you don't pay a certain amount. That could be in thousands of dollars. People get scared, especially our senior folks, right? And they send money by indirect transfers, Western Union money transfer. I should do that, back to send money back home. Who does that? Anybody send money home through Western Union? No? It's good.
Privately.
Oh, yeah? Okay. See, I'm getting old. Yeah, I used to get a money transfer control number, right? That's how I used to give it to my folks in India, and that's how they used to get the funds. So yeah, basically, this officer already spoke about all the spam, scams, and fraud prevention, but I would like to target on the screen here the CCR, which I already spoke to you about. Romance scams. Who knows what romance scam is? No, who's laughing? It is a scam. What do you think romance scam is? Online dating, right? So say this gentleman here in the white, looks like he's been on the website. Okay? Who's that sitting next to you?
My wife.
Okay. Alright guys. I that was just a joke. I haven't seen him ever. Okay, promise. Dave, have you seen him? Okay, so online the romance scams means one guy or a gal, she meets another guy or a gal on the computer, like through Facebook or whichever they have. What are the dating websites now? I don't know. I'm quite older, so I don't know. I don't date anybody. I'm married for 29 years now, so anyway, so what happens is they fall in love, and then suddenly the guy or the gal will say, "Hey, I need some money." By that time they're already in love. So initially it starts off with $100, $200, and then it's a large sum of money. So that's a romance scam. Lottery scam. I was working in 55 division. Working in 55 division, this is a real radio call for me. I had this mail from Bangladesh, right? He comes to me and says, I've been defrauded of $10,000. I said, how? He says, I was crossing the street and two, I will not say what nationality they were, but two males come up to him and says, hey, listen, I got this lottery ticket, which is a winning lottery ticket, $1 million. But I have to take a flight, I have to go somewhere. But this is all yours if you go to the bank just now and give me $10,000. Everybody thinks when you come to Canada, it's a land of opportunity. It's been great for me, right? But there are fraudsters out there, right? So he goes to the bank, takes out, I don't know how much the limit was, but he takes out $10,000, gives it to these guys. He goes to cash in the lottery ticket, and of course, what do you think? He's getting to get his $1 million? So he got duped, right? So they come to us. I mean, what can we do, right? I don't have a magic wand to get his money back, right? We can only notify your bank and say, hey, this is what happened. Maybe your bank will cover you, but I don't know, right? So there's certain limitations what the bank will cover you and not, right? So other one is grandparent scams. Elderly folks, they are elderly for a reason. That's why they are called elderly. So they cannot hear well. And they do not know who the person is on the other side, right? They think it's their grandchild. And there are people, the fraudsters, who use small children to do this. And the grandparent thinks, oh, my grandchild needs money. And that's how they start getting them, right? So our vulnerable folks, they also get targeted. I receive, even on my phone, Dave receives on his phone. We get calls from law enforcement officers. They're not actually law enforcement officers, but they pretend to be. They say that, respond to my message quickly at this number. When we call that number, we know who they are, right? But they try to say, hey, they don't try. They say that, hey guys, you don't do this, you're going to get arrested, right? So people get scared, especially when you're a newcomer to Canada. I know how the Indian police are, right? So I know, right? I have been given money when I was at a traffic stop, thinking that I will give this officer $20 and he'll let me go. I said, this doesn't work here, right? So these are real situations which I've experienced. And so has my sergeant and Dave here. Dave is he's not quiet. Hey, he talks a lot. He'll talk soon. The other one is moving company scams. That's a big one. We actually did a project at 55 Division where the beaches are. Many people got defrauded from moving companies. What they used to do is they used to set up a price. We all set up a price. Hey, listen, $800. I'm dating myself probably, but $800 move my stuff from point A to point B. So they used to put all the stuff in the trucks. They used to go to point B, and now they ask you for $1,500, right? And if you don't give them the money, they hold your property and they drive away, right? So it is a crime, right? And the trucks they're using, they call proceeds of crime, right? So the trucks can be seized, their business can be seized. Canada Customs Revenue Agency will go after them through some Civil Remedies Act, where they have to pay everybody or they go behind bars, right? So there's a lot of things going. You have to be very careful, right? Never give your information on the phone to anybody or on the email. Okay, so this is the fun stuff, right? I tried to get quickly through through that video and that other stuff about neighborhood and all. That's boring, right? I know Nobody. Did you understand what I said about neighbor before? No, right? So this is the fun part, right? So what do you do when you're stopped by a police officer? Who wants to answer that? Okay, initially that's why I asked you. Some of the people said here that they have been in Canada for a few years. Have you ever been stopped by police? No? Come on! Jackson, you've been stopped by police?
I got.
Okay, what happened?
For mine, as the first incident, like I came after a few months, I got pulled over, and the officer asked me to show my license and insurance. I show my license, but the insurance is back of my trunk, and I was trying to open the door. Suddenly, he got his hand on his gun, and he said, "That's wrong." So yeah, that's my experience, to be honest. So yeah, don't do that. Like yeah, that's
Yeah, you know what? He must have done something wrong. Okay, guys, so there are different scenarios where a police officer will stop you, okay? In a lawful investigation, I can go to anybody and talk to them. It's up to you if you want to talk to me. But I'm free to talk to you. Unless you're on an investigation, right? Then you have to talk to me. Okay? So I'm giving an example of a car you're driving. If you are driving and you see lights behind you, what do you have to do? Sorry? Pull over, right? Where do you pull over? Left or right? Right,
Who said
slowly.
left? Somebody said left. I got left.
Okay, so you pull over. And those lights could be what? Police car? Ambulance and? Gotcha, good. Okay, so you pull over to the side. Police officer will come to you. Not with his hand on his gun, okay? We are cautious, right? Anyway, so we'll ask you for documents. 3 documents you need to have in a car. What is the first one? Driver's license. A photo Ontario driver's license. What is the second one? Sorry? Insurance. And third one? Okay, what happens if you don't have any of these documents? You get fined. So it's about $300 altogether. Okay, you don't have your license, but a police officer will ask you for your identity, right? You have to confirm who you are. Just because you say you are so and so person, I cannot believe you, right? So we go back to our car and we check whether you're this person who's driving the car who you say you are on your driver's license. Sometimes people don't have the driver's license, so we have to verify. So that's an arrestable offense if you don't ID yourself to a police officer. Okay? So say you're, what's your name, sir? Delvin, what's the last name? Davis. Denville Davis. He'll give his date of birth as, what do you look like? 20 years old. Is that right? Denville Davis, 20 years old, or date of birth, and I'll give you an address. I'll go back to my police car and I'll check the Ministry of Transportation, right? Where the license was issued, because I have access to a lot of things in the police car. So I'll verify his information and come back and say, hey, yes, you are right. You are Denzel Davis, but you don't have your license, this is your ticket. That's the discretion the officers use. I can give him a ticket or I cannot give him a ticket, based on how he interacts with me. We have discretion, right? Officers have discretion to charge or not to charge, okay? If he gives me a nice smile, right, gives me a good reason, let Denzel go, right? But if he doesn't identify himself to me verbally, if you don't have your license, that's fine. But you have to identify yourself to an officer verbally, saying, I'm Denzel Davis, my date of birth is so and so, it's up to me to verify. If he doesn't give his officer, I'm going to give him a name. Come on, Mr. Denzel, face the wall, you're going to be under arrest. Okay? Until I verify who he is. Because what happens, many people are wanted on warrants, right? And they give us a wrong name, right? You think people lie to us? No, come on, nobody lies to us. Why are you smiling? Look at the lady. Why are you smiling? Yeah, people lie to us all the time, right? So that's why we have to verify. So if you issued a ticket or you don't pay your parking tickets, your license can get suspended. Okay? So you're driving down your laneway, police officer pulls you over, they run your license plate. If you're the registered owner of the car, your license will come back suspended, right? So then you have to tow your car and stuff like that. So pay your parking tickets, pay your traffic tickets. Who drives impaired here?
Who knows what impaired means?
What does impaired mean? What does impaired driving mean? And what does care and control mean?
Drunk or high?
Drunk or high.
Drunk or high. Could be drugs or? Correct. You know a lot, eh? Alright guys, so impaired driving is either you drink above, there are certain levels, it's called drive over 80 milligrams alcohol. So if you have 80 milligrams and over of alcohol in your blood, you can get arrested for impaired, right? That's over 80. But if you have driving evidence, you're swerving in and out, you're doing this, your eyes are blurry, your speech is slurry, right? There are other grounds as well, but that gives the grounds police officers to arrest you. Your license gets suspended for 90 days, 45 days.
7 days ADLS.
7 days?
Yeah.
See, he knows better. 7 days, no, that's motor vehicle. So license gets suspended for 45 days, car gets stored for 7 days. Anyway, all right. So care and control. You know what is care and control? So say you're doing drugs in the car, you shouldn't do it. Okay. And if you're drinking in the car, right, and your keys are accessible to you. Let's say it's in the glove box, right? And a police officer comes and talks to you, and you can get a smell of alcohol or there's drugs and you can smell drugs in the car. Care and control means you can physically you can reach for the keys, start the car and go. That's called care and control. So you don't have to be driving, okay? You have to be in care of the car or control of the car. That's what it's called, care and control. That is the same charge like an impaired, right? Lawyer fees are $15,000 to $20,000 to get you off. Who makes the money? I do. I get to go to court. So those are the offenses, right? Domestic assault. That's a tough one, eh? So, anybody know in Canada what's the law for domestic assault?
Who knows what the duty of a police officer is in the case of domestic assault? It's okay, this one. Can you all hear me? Yes. Perfect. In the case of any domestic crime, do you all understand what a domestic crime is? So anything with intimate partner violence. So if you're boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, doesn't matter how long you've been together, doesn't matter how short you've been together, doesn't matter if you're not even together anymore. If there's that intimate partner violence, if a police officer has reasonable grounds to believe, which means if I believe, or Glenn believes, or Sergeant Sharp believes, that an offense has been committed, we have a duty to arrest and charge. Okay? It's a very, very serious crime. Okay?
So if there's an allegation, say, of a domestic assault between a domestic could be dating relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, past or present, common law relationship, and marriage, right? Even if there's an allegation of an assault, for domestic situation, the police shall arrest. There's no leeway about it. Because once we leave that house and something happens, guess who's responsible? Who? Me? Yes, I'm responsible. That's why we are mandated by the Solicitor General of Canada to make an arrest for domestic assault. So treat each other right, please. Okay? Any questions about the domestic assault part?
I had the incident like a couple days ago, family called me, she said, the middle here, right? I got a call like a couple days ago and a family that husband and wife, they just came Canada in a couple months and they had a argument going on. Physically, a kind of altercation going on, but it's not a big, for us it's not a big, but looking from other people's perspective, it's big for them. And somebody like from neighbor, they just walking on the street, a neighbor called, and police showed up, he get arrested, they get separated for 65, 70 days. It's really weird and hard for them, that's the rule and that's the law in Canada, we have to follow that. If he breached that rule, he's gonna be get arrested for another charge. So my suggestion, I told them, and I always told everybody that, like, my suggestion, if you have an argument, heat argument, as long as heat argument, like, yeah, step back, or like, stop that as soon as possible, but don't put the hand on together, that's the big deal. Even if it's a small scarf, or a little bit blood, or whatever, it's a big deal. So make sure, and yeah, as Glenn said, respect each other. That's the best way.
So I've been married 29 years. You think I have issues with, arguments with my wife? Yeah, I do.
Always.
Sometimes I can't bear it. I have to go. I said, don't. So the thing with me is, I get mad, don't talk to me. I go for a walk, right? I go for a drive and then come back. So many people can't do that, right? Because you got to cool down first. You can't act right there, then and there, because you are going to make the wrong decision. So even now, I go for a walk, right? But what Jackson is saying is right. If a person gets arrested for domestic assault, they cannot go back to that same house where you got arrested until the court case is done, because they do not want spousal violence to set again, because they want them to live apart until the case is done. So there will be conditions on the spouses. Just as an example, if Jackson is if I arrest Jackson because he assaulted his wife, there'll be conditions on him saying you cannot go back to your house, you cannot talk to your wife, you cannot be anywhere near to your wife, not call her, not at work, a workplace, anywhere. If he does that, he goes back, because we do surprise visits in your house, right? He can get arrested. That's called a fail to comply with your conditions set by the court. So that's a very serious offense. Okay? So yeah, treat everybody nice. Criminal offenses. The most common offenses here in Canada is theft, right? Theft under. So there is different levels, different tiers of offenses. They call summary conviction, which is like theft under 5,000. Dual offenses, which are both theft, which are both summary and indictable offenses. Indictable means anything above $5,000. Those are serious offenses, right? Theft over $5,000, mischief over $5,000, murder, attempted murder, assaults. Those are indictable offenses. So what happens? You go to this LCBO, you steal a bottle of whiskey. Sir, everybody, sir, listening so attentively. Who went to the LCBO last? Nobody goes to the LCBO? Yes. Look, she's laughing. Look at her in the corner there. No, you. Anyway, so these are the most common offenses: theft, like theft in Walmart, theft in the LCBO. What happens is the store security, if he doesn't get you, he'll call us. If we arrest you, depends on your first offense. If it's a first offense, it's called something called a Form 9, which I can release. Again, I tell you, police officers have a lot of discretion. First offense only though. So we can release you something on appearance notice. But you have to promise that you're going to go to court and you have to do fingerprints. So you're on our system now. Right? So, are you evaluating me, Sarge?
Oh, yes, always.
So where was I? Yeah, so you got to go for fingerprints, so you're in the system. It's not good to come in the system. You know why? You go to a university, you go for a job in Walmart, you go to work in a senior's home. What do they do before they employ you? Background. That's called a vulnerable sector screening. Okay? If they know, so it comes to the police officers, police station. And then they say, yeah, positive. They don't give you any details, but they give, what do they say? Positive or something like that.
It's whether or not you have a criminal
Yeah,
record.
that's only yes or no. If you say yes, say goodbye to the university, say goodbye to your prospects in life, right? Universities, if you want to do your masters, they ask you for all those things, right?
It is worth noting though, that is upon conviction.
Yeah.
And conviction and charge are two very different things. Okay?
Yeah. So charge means you do something wrong, you steal, you get charged. But you're not convicted in court. You only get a criminal conviction if you get, judge says, yeah, you did it, it goes on your criminal record. So court date convictions, one of the sector screening, I did that. Landlord and tenant issues. Who's renting here? Do you have a good landlord? Oh, okay. Who doesn't have a good landlord? Do you know your powers under the Landlord and Tenant Act? You should have a look. Go to the Landlord and Tenant Tribunal and have a look. Okay? The tenants have a lot of power in this country, not the landlord. Okay, the landlord can't just kick you out in minus 35 weather because you have not paid your rent. Okay, there's a certain process that you got to follow in Canada for you to get evicted from your own by your own landlord. Okay, there's a process, right? But tenants have a lot of power here.
How much does it cost to get legal advice for a tenant? If you're a tenant and you need legal advice, how much does it cost? Nothing. Nothing. Tenants get free legal advice from the landlord-tenant board. If there's an issue going on and you need help, speak to the landlord-tenant board. Okay, you can always involve police. Our role is gonna be to keep the peace and make sure that no one's blatantly breaking the law in that situation. But ultimately, you wanna speak to the landlord-tenant board, and they're available for you, okay?
If you get arrested, do you have to pay for your lawyer? Okay, so we got something in Canada called, if you don't have a lawyer, the Canadian government gives you a lawyer. It's called duty counsel. Don't get arrested. Okay? Okay, this loud, you're a tenant, right? So there's loud music playing, is she gone? Oh, there she is, sorry. Fourth row, man, glasses. So you're a tenant, right? You have issues with your neighbor? Okay, say your neighbor is playing loud music day in and day out. You're studying for exams. I don't know if you have kids, but say the kids can't sleep. What are you going to do? Sorry? Sorry for putting you on the spot. Anybody else can
She's
answer
saying,
that?
ask the neighbor to turn it down.
That's
which is a very
good. But the
start.
MS says get lost. I'm not doing it. Now what? Correct. So what you can do, you can call 911 or your local police stations, and you can tell them, or call 311. You know what 311 is?
No.
It's the city stuff, right? They will have bylaws coming down, bylaw officer. They will actually measure the decibels in how loud it is, right? And then they will charge. But if you call 911, say it's middle of the night, but you can tell the police dispatcher, hey, listen, my neighbor is creating a lot of noise. I don't want him knowing it's me who called, and we respect that. So the neighbor, hey, Jackson, why are you making so much noise, right? Well, who called? I said, I don't have to tell you who called, but there's a lot of noise. So that's the privilege you get when you tell the dispatcher, hey, you know what? Please don't let the police officer. I can call you on the phone and talk to you from my scout car, right? Saying, hey, what's going on? But I will not come to your address because you said I don't want to be seen. But then they will say, oh yeah, she called the police, and then there's going to be more repercussions for you, right? So.
What about how they know that it's an emergency or non-emergency call and how they're going to be figured out it's a 911?
So, do you mind if I jump in? I got this mic. So in terms of emergency and non-emergency, who here knows when their life is in danger? Pretty much everyone, right? You know if something's about to happen or you need help right now, right? Everyone kind of knows. Maybe the kids don't know, but even the kids kind of know. So if you think you're in danger, if you think there's an immediate threat to someone else or to yourself, or you need help right now, you call 911. Okay, we all know 911. If it's not an emergency, if you don't need me to come lights and sirens and come screaming up and come running in, if it's something like your neighbor was rude to you or someone did something that you don't like and you think that the police need to be involved, there's the non-emergency number as well, okay? And this is, you can Google all this, non-emergency number, Toronto Police, but it's 416-808-2222, 2222, easy to remember, right? What's the number? Yeah? That's it.
If you remember 808 tips, that's the number.
Easy, 808 tips. Okay?
The other one is Crime Stoppers tip. There's a Crime Stoppers number. You can Google what the number is. But they do not ask you any information. So if there's a serious crime going on and you're afraid even to call us, right? Call that number and give them the information, right? They will take the information and follow up. So I'm keeping the floor open for you guys to ask questions. So I can go on and on, but I'm waiting for you guys to ask me questions so we can answer. So
The 911 line is generally not busy. If the 911 line is busy, generally that means that there's an extremely high volume of calls happening. And the issue with everything is staffing. We only have so many people answering the phone at one time, and that's just because when you call 911, you're talking to a real person. You're not talking to a police officer, you're talking to a civilian dispatcher who's gonna tell us where to go. If the 911 line's busy, you wait, you call again, you call as many times as you can until you get through. Okay? Anyone else? There's no dumb questions. Who here has heard? Oh, in the back.
So if I saw a crime
Yeah.
and I call 911 and I know the other guy's like, I know him and he's so bad, so I don't want to get, I gave my statement to the, I gave it to the 911 dispatcher and the, obviously police is going to call me, but I don't want him to know that I reported the crime and I don't want him to see me in the court because if I have to give a statement at the court, and in case if I give the statement and I know the guy is going to be if he comes out I have problem in that situation, what should I do? Should I be afraid to report or afraid to be a witness or?
That's kind of a difficult situation that you're bringing up. You're asking the question of privilege. Who here knows what privilege is when it relates to the police? Probably not many. It basically means that we have to keep you a secret. If you're a direct witness to a crime, and you are a direct person that saw the crime, you need to let an officer know that before you start speaking. And if that's something where you don't want to be a witness, you need to make that very clear because we can't extend you privilege unless we know we're extending you privilege. Now, in terms of a situation like that, as much as you don't want to be a part of it, as much as you think that when this person gets out, it's going to be a bigger problem for you, it's going to be an issue for you, I'd argue that the bigger problem is going to be not helping us deal with the problem itself. So I understand that sometimes it takes courage to step up and be a witness and be that person, but quite often that's what we rely on in situations like that, is that courage. And then afterwards, there's also resources available to you as a witness. There's victim witness prep, there's all kinds of resources available through us once we know what the issues are and once we know what the vulnerabilities are. So really the biggest thing is communicating that to police. It's having an open dialogue and saying, this is why I'm afraid, and letting us say like, okay, here are some ways that we can address that. Because if we don't know, we can't help you. And if you see something happening and you want something done about it, if we don't know, we can't help you. So, does that answer your question? Kind of?
Kind of. What if I have a video of that crime?
I feel like this is a very specific question. And it may relate to a specific crime, and it may not be the most appropriate time for me to answer it in front of a large group of people. If you're looking to talk about something and also remain anonymous, maybe we shouldn't have that discussion in front of, I think there's 60, 70 people in here. More. Maybe we'll talk after.
Dave, this is a tight-knit community. Everybody knows everything about everybody.
We'll still just maybe talk after. Does anyone have a less specific question?
Or does everybody know what happens when you call 911? Like how does the call go through? Does anybody know?
Has anyone here ever called 911? So a few. So you call 911, what's the first thing they say?
What is it?
911, do you require police, fire, ambulance?
Police.
Like say police, okay, 911, what's your emergency? Where are you? Who are you? The most important information that we need, who are you? Where are you? What's happening? Because if you're calling 911 because someone said something rude to you, they're gonna say you probably shouldn't be calling 911. If you're calling 911 because somebody's beating someone up in front of you and you need help right away, the most important thing we need to know is, where are you? Do they have a weapon? What do they look like? Because you have to keep in mind there's a delay between you calling 911 and us being even dispatched to go. okay? So we need to know who you are, where they are, what they look like, what they're doing. All the information that you can give, try and be as calm as possible. I understand when you're calling 911, it's gonna be a scary situation, but they're gonna walk you through it, they're gonna ask you questions, they're gonna stay on the phone with you until we can show up. Another big thing is that our 911 has something called language link. Is English everyone's first language here? No. Is everyone as comfortable with English as maybe I am? So, a lot of you are. I barely speak English sometimes. But
The percentage of educated people in Canada is 100%.
oh, I don't believe it. My point is, some people are more comfortable explaining things in their native language than they would be in English. And if that is the case, tell them when you call 911, they'll connect you with someone that can speak the language that you're most comfortable with. That way you can communicate effectively, because the most important thing we want to do is help you. Fair? And we want to help you in the most efficient way possible. Okay?
So what happens when you call 911, it goes to the call taker, okay? The call taker receives the call. Then she dispatches a call. There's another dispatcher who dispatches a call. It goes from this computer to another computer dispatches. And then depending upon where you live, the police officer is already on the road, the dispatcher sends the call right away. So there's a lag, maybe about 5 minutes, right? But it's very quick. That's why sometimes you see police officers lights and sirens, is because there's something really urgent that somebody needs the police officer, right? The house on fire, baby not breathing, stuff like that. That's why CPR is very important for everybody to know. You should take your standard CPR first aid course, because you never know, somebody in your family will require that. Because what happens when you call 911, they'll ask you, put the person on the ground, put them in a recovery position, are they breathing, right? Head, tail, chin lift, take the tongue at the back, they start breathing. These are the basic things that everybody should know. Maybe if you should do that, maybe you can save a life of yours, or your own family members, or somebody else, right? Anybody else? Any other questions? Anything work related, fun related?
Who here has ever dealt with someone with mental health issues?
Sorry.
Anyone? Anyone know anybody with any mental health issues? Depression, anxiety, anything? Has anyone here ever heard of the line 211? You know someone?
I was facing mental issues.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And we deal with that type of stuff too. We're always going to try to deal with that as sensitively as possible. One other thing that's available to you, if you don't feel confident speaking to us, there's something called 211, very similar to 311 that connects you with resources for the city. 211 connects you with mental health resources. Okay, so anyone in this room can call 211. I don't know how old everyone is here. I know there's a lot of youth here, but there's kids help phone. There's all that stuff that's available. If you ever need any help, if you ever feel like things are getting a little too extreme and you need to really talk to someone, we're available as well. If you feel like you might hurt yourself, 911. Just like if you see someone else being hurt, if you feel like you might hurt yourself, call 911. Obviously speak to trusted people in your community. You have the trustee, you have the pastor, you have the father. There's people around that care and are willing to help you, and we're just another resource in that situation.
And this is not only for the ladies, for the guys too, right? We all live in condo buildings, right? You come to the condo building, say in the lobby, you want to take your elevator upstairs. It's maybe 11:30, 12 in the night, or maybe 2 in the morning, right? The elevator door opens, and then you see somebody there, and then you get that feeling, hey, should I get in this elevator or not? Just listen to yourself, okay? Don't feel bad for that other person because they think, oh, just because I'm in the elevator, she or he is not coming in. Listen to yourself, right? Because things have happened in the past, even for me, right? If I think I'm not comfortable going in an elevator, I won't go in, right? So that feelings you get inside your stomach, butterflies, or you think that I shouldn't go in, don't go in. Take the next elevator.
Trust your gut.
Trust your gut. Maybe call your parents or call your significant other and say, hey, can you come down? Or come down in the garage, I'm not getting out of the car. Something going on. Other thing is garages. You go into the underground parking garage, you see some people breaking into cars, right? Try to get out quickly, call 911, don't get out of the car, right? So, because they know you've seen that. So, these are the kind of things. So, this is what determines what an emergency is. We cannot tell you what an emergency is because for me, we go into burning buildings, we go for gun calls. So, for me, it's not an emergency that way for like how a civilian is, right? For you, it's a big thing. For us, also, it's a big thing, but we go into that. So, there's different levels of emergencies for different people. So you listen to your own stuff, right, before you do anything or respond. So,
Any other questions?
go ahead, sir.
So recently I had applied for a security license
Okay.
3 weeks back, and while studying I came across this line that says that if you don't follow the code of conduct.
Jackson just told me this, and I was not aware.
Jerry probably know that well, and he's the one who told me that.
Yeah, that's in the news, like people from India calling us and asking what's happening here. But
That's
we are not-
something that we'll receive updates on. We haven't received anything on that as of yet, but it's something that we'll monitor. At this point, I think there's 3 police officers here. You're very safe right now. And it's just gonna be the general principles of keeping yourself safe, just like we talked about, okay?
So do you know what this is? So they're body worn cameras. They are on all the time, right? But they're not recording right now, right? So because of allegations against police officers and for the safety of us and for the safety of yours, we have this camera. So whenever there's an investigation, in an investigative capacity, if I'm investigating you, I put it on. If I'm having a normal chat to Jackson, I'm not going to turn it on because it's not investigative, right? So that's why we have this. When we carry handcuffs, carry a taser. Who got taser? Nobody? Yet? Who wants to get taser?
Sorry, we don't do live demonstrations.
No, it is. It's quite something. We shouldn't get tasers.
Yep.
Saj, you want to say something?
I'm just curious, first of all, thanks for everyone's attention tonight. We're not trying to rush in with the door. Just out of curiosity, I just want to remind everyone, our organization, like every police service, our success is based on a relationship with our communities. And our relationship with you guys is super important. So, as Glenn and Dave have been saying here, anytime you have any questions in regards to laws or anything, please ask us, because knowledge is power. So I will ask anybody in the room here, does anybody here have a goal of being a police officer? Any males or females in the room that want to be a police officer here in Canada, in Toronto? Excellent. That's phenomenal. So I just want to remind everyone, this is a great opportunity for us here as an organization. We are in fact recruiting members of our community, so if there's any men and women here that have any interest in joining the police service, which I'll tell you right now is a phenomenal organization, just check out our webpage or ask one of us after here. And we are actively recruiting. Right now our organization is looking for, we're looking for constables as well as special constables. So we have 2 programs here for, sometimes you might see someone with a lighter blue shirt. That's our special constables who do a myriad of job functions for us that proved very important. And of course, jobs that we use as full constables. So glad to see there's some interest here. If anybody wants to stop us afterwards, or we can give you our address for recruitment, we look forward to providing that information. So I'm glad there's some members here in the audience that's looking to join the ranks of here at the Toronto Police Service. It's awesome. And remember, your language skills is super important for us as an organization. So having extra language skills is phenomenal. So yeah, it's just an asset for us for a myriad of investigations. So please consider our organization. It's a good organization, and we look forward to hearing from some of you guys in the room and females in the room here for joining our job, rank and file. Okay.
So you only require grade 12 actually to be a police officer, right? What else apart from grade 12? What do you need to be a police officer? Common sense? Okay, if you like to talk to people, I like to talk to people, Dave likes to talk to people, Sergeant Sharp likes to talk to people. That's why we joined this job, right? You've got to give back to the community as well. That's why we do things like that, right? So minimum grade 12. Volunteer work, yeah. So I said I came to Canada in 2000, right? I think I'm overqualified for this job, but 2001 I got hired. But before I got hired, I did volunteer work, right? I taught kids reading and stuff like that in the library because they will ask you for volunteer work. I did graffiti eradication programs with the city of Toronto, right? Because what the Toronto Police Service wants is, you came to Canada fine, right? You take make use of all the opportunities you have here. If you work hard, you'll get what you want. Canada is a land of opportunities. You just got to tap the right resources, right? That's why I gave you the website, Canada.ca. Go on that website, look at the scholarships. There's a lot of money out there which you can tap into. So as I said earlier, did volunteer work, then I got hired. But even after I got hired, I continued my volunteer work. I belong to a church on Victoria Park in Ellesmere called the Annunciation Church. I'm still a Eucharistic minister there, and I teach the marriage prep course, conflict management, and finance. Right? Jackson told me about to say something on the marriage prep. That's a totally different issue, but it's a long course. I'm sure there's a conflict management, there's a marriage prep course here. You do every year? Yeah, okay. So yeah, you learn that
It's
when you
going
get
on
married.
right now.
Oh yeah, okay.
Online.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, even after you get hired or you do anything else, try to give something back to the community, right? Be available, right? Show that you can make a difference. So just to get the job, don't stop doing your volunteer work after you get the job. So any other question, guys?
Yeah.
So I just want to follow up with that question. So as per the government of India, they were saying that there's an increased number of hate crimes happening in Canada. So again, just want to, can you please tell what is a hate crime and how can we differentiate what's a hate crime? And if there's a hate crime, if they're experiencing, how can they report to police?
Well, it can be anything, right? It can be the way you talk. It can be my accent too, right? It can be the way you dress, the way you walk, the way you talk, what nationality you're from, the country you're from, origin country, your background, whom you hang out with, right? So that could be, anything could be a hate crime. If the other person doesn't like what you're doing or where you come from, right? So that's, yeah, if you feel you've been targeted, yeah, you gotta report that to a police officer.
A hate crime is going to be any crime that's motivated by an identifiable. So, for example, if someone punched you because you're Indian, that's a hate crime. If someone punches you because you cut them off in traffic, that's not a hate crime. Okay? If somebody graffitis your house and it's something racist, that's a hate crime. If someone graffitis your house and it's just graffiti, that's not a hate crime. It's something that's motivated by hate. It's a crime motivated by hate. Fair? And if something like that happens, report it just like any other crime. We're going to deal with it just as sensitively as we would with anything else, okay? A victim's a victim, a complainant's a complainant, okay? Talk to us, let us know what's going on. Help us understand that it is a hate crime and we'll treat it with the importance that it deserves, okay?
But guys, he said about hitting a car, so if you hit somebody else's car or somebody else hits you, we can't just take off, okay? That's the charge, fail to remain at the scene of an accident. You got 24 hours to report the incident to the collision reporting center. If you don't, then that's another charge, okay? So what happens when you have an accident on the street, depending upon what happens, if it's only property damage, that means that there's bumper damage and stuff, and the car is drivable, exchange information, get the other driver's license, ownership insurance, give your ownership and your driver's license and phone number, whatever, to the other person. And then go to the collision reporting center. But if there are injuries, then you call 911 and a police officer will come up. Okay, so it's imperative that you do not leave the scene of an accident.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Hi. So I know I'm not supposed to harm anyone. So what would the police do if I hit someone on my self-defense?
What do you want to do? So the criminal code gives you the right to defend yourself within reason. Now that's going to depend what's happening. Ultimately, your best bet is if you can remove yourself from a situation where things are going to escalate to violence, remove yourself from the situation. If you've escalated it to the point of violence and then continue fighting, it's difficult to answer that question because it's difficult to say based on any situation or a blanket situation. Fair? Ultimately, you want to remove yourself from the situation. If you're in a situation where you cannot remove yourself and you have to defend yourself, but don't go overboard. Fair?
911 preferably.
Call 911, try to get out of the situation, ultimately try to avoid that, okay? We don't want people fighting, we don't want people being violent, we don't want you in situations like that. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I've lived 31 years and I've never been in a situation when I haven't been working where I've had to defend myself because I can remove myself from the situation. So you also have to think about your own maturity level and think about how did we get here, right? So just don't let yourself get in that situation. Fair?
How old are you?
I'm 21.
Sorry?
21.
All those hormones going, eh? You want to get there and fight somebody, right?
That's a young man's question.
Okay, listen. I'll give you an example. Again, I'm going back to 55 Division Beaches. We got a call saying 2 guys are fighting. It was a consensual fight in a bar fight. Okay? I'd like to give a live example so it's better understanding, right? So, I'm always using Jackson as an example. So Jackson and I said, hey, let's go out and duke it out, right? Jackson and I are fighting. I punch Jackson. Jackson hits his head on the sidewalk and then he's gone. Right? That's second degree murder charges. Right? You cannot, and say, forget that. Say you hit him, right? And now he says, hey, listen, I'm backing off, but you continue hitting this guy until you break his face, his skull. Now those are charges called aggravated assault. You cannot consent to an aggravated assault. Okay? So that's why the consent becomes elevated after you continue with the fight. Right? So that's the difference. There's a very fine line. So
Remove yourself from the situation.
exactly, yeah.
Any other questions? No?
Taxi scam is going on. Taxi scam.
I know this
That's happened to me.
Yeah.
So on an iPhone, if you hold the buttons down, it automatically calls 911. If you hang up before you connect and they call back, just answer the phone, say sorry, it was a mistake. Do you know what's gonna happen? They'll say, great, thanks for answering the phone. Or if you make it through, say sorry, I called this by mistake. They might not be happy, but you won't get in trouble. Nothing's gonna happen. If you do it every day, multiple times a day, then it's probably not an accident. But if it's just once, just tell them it was an accident. Everyone makes mistakes. Just say it was an accident, let them know. That way we don't have to come check on you. Fair? Easy.
Another example. You guys like examples or no? Okay, good. Keeps it alive, right? So that you don't go to sleep. Okay, so there is a case law, right, saying that, remember I talked about domestics, right? Wife is or husband is not able to call because the wife is beating him. They just call 911 and they hang up. That's the time we go, right? You knock on the door and the guy's not letting us in, but he only opens the door a bit. But I can see there's glasses thrown on the floor, the tables and chairs upside down, right? So what do? Do I go back? No. I kick the door and I go in and then we see what's happening. So that's another aspect of the 911 call, that we got grounds to go into a house if we see something like that, right? And the history. Of course, we do not go anywhere without finding the history first to a house. If there is a history, we know what happened, right? So even if you say, hey, officer, everything is fine, you know, we still investigate.
Any other questions?
There is a lady that she won't ask something. What's your question?
Well, I had a similar question.
You want the mic?
No, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, let's say we call 911, we thought that it's an emergency situation, but when the police came in, it turns out it's not. Then what happened? Do we, like, the person who called 911?
Just let us know. We're people. Just talk to us. Just let us know.
If we say discretion, right? Remember? Discretion. We can use discretion. What does discretion means? The ability to make a decision, right? Whether to let it go or to charge, right? So that's the freedom we have.
Glenn, I'm getting a little concerned. A few people are starting to leave here. We do have an exam for you guys. There's 50 questions. So everyone leaves right away. You know, I just told you, I said, no exam.
They have to have the ownership, the original, can keep a copy of it.
The question was, do you keep the original in the car, or you can keep it on your phone? A copy is fine, but you should keep the originals in the car, right? So, but you can keep it on your phone as well.
So Glenn had mentioned earlier, just as another thing that's popped in my mind now with the cars, Glenn had mentioned earlier about thefts. So if you're an owner of a vehicle or property, you know what, just be smart. Don't leave things that people are going to see in your car. So if you got extra money or change or whatever, you don't want somebody busting your window, taking a bit of change, your items in your car. So is make sure first of all your vehicle's locked. And if you have any valuables that you don't want anybody else to own or take, just please put them out of sight. That's another good way to keep your valuables safe. Around your properties in your evenings, make sure you leave the light on. Light's a good deterrent from people. And for anybody that wants to invest in extra security measures, cameras are good on your properties. So any homeowners or renters that want to keep your property safe, not saying anything's going to happen, but just the cameras are another good, effective tool for us to keep your property safe. And if there is an entry, obviously the camera work is good for court purposes. Okay.
All right, guys. I've been on for this is my 21st year. Sergeant Sharp, he's been on 23 years. Dave is on 5 years. I like to come to work every day, right? I like to deal with different people. We have a very good atmosphere in our work, right? And my sergeant, not because he's here, I'm saying that, but he's been one of my best sergeants that I have. Very open to dialogue, right? Teamwork. Teamwork is very important in this place, right? And you got to talk to people and discuss things, right? You cannot keep anything in your mind about, say I have an issue with Dave, I'm going to talk to Dave about it, right? Because I'm going to work with Dave all the time. I cannot assume that Dave understands what's going on in my head. So that's the part of working in a team environment, right? We bring all the issues to the table, and that's how we successfully work with each other, right? So if there is anything else, I will gladly help. But I hope I answered all your questions, or we answered all your questions. And if you would like us to come again, we will come again. Or no, right? I don't want this guy, man. He's giving too many examples.
Thank you all for paying attention. Thank you very much.
All right, we have a good crowd. Thanks for participating. Okay, you guys are awesome. And I thank Jackson. I thank Jackson for bringing us here. He's an awesome guy. He tries his best, right, to get everything going here. And I think you got a good gentleman here. And thanks to you folks as well.